Okay, Theron Sanai. Let us start today's sermon by paying homage to the Lord Buddha and chanting the Namaskar and observing the 5 precepts. Let us take a moment to pay our homage to the Lord Buddha. Because of his efforts, it is now that we are here today and we can contemplate and discuss the Dhamma, practice the Dhamma, and find unconditional happiness, transform our lives and find freedom. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Most of my life, I never liked to learn things. I guess that's why I also chose to study physics and mathematics, because I absolutely don't have to learn anything. I mean, if you compare that to people who study biology and medicine, whenever I saw the amount of things they had to memorize, I was always feeling so lucky that I don't have to do that. And I used to brag about that when I was in high school. I used to brag to others that, see, because I'm so smart that I can understand mathematics and physics, I don't have to do that. And my high school, my A-levels preparation was fairly relaxed, because mathematics and physics were the 2 main subjects, and if you understand it, and there's not much you have to learn. So that means I might as well just go and play some computer. But others had to learn weeks on weeks all the different parts of the body and all these kinds of things, right? And at that time I felt, I remember I passed a bit of a selfish comment to some of my friends, and I got it back as well. Anyways, that was then. So, but actually these days, this week especially, I started to find some joy in memorization. See, I never liked to do that. Even when in my Anagarika time, I had to by heart the Dhammapada stanzas. In our monastery, we are supposed to learn 10 Dhammapada Vaggas until the ordination. So I did that as I was required, but I was happy that it was done. But now I started to enjoy memorization again, and it has also to do with language learning. I mean, when we are learning languages in school, it's, to my experience, I mean, I had the misfortune of having to learn 3 languages in school. One of them was English, so that was not a big of a deal, because when you're from in Germany, it's just your own language and simple. All these different cases and articles and declinations, everything, you just drop it out and then that's what's left is English, basically, right? Because in German you have 3 types of gender, so this is a female, and the cup is also female, and this is male, so you need to know all these things, and there's no logic to that. But anyway, it's my mother tongue, so I never had any problems. Anyway, but learning languages, I really enjoyed that only when I left school, when I didn't have to learn vocabulary, when I didn't have to buy hard things. We're coming back to the same point of before. when I learned that actually learning languages is the most easiest way, is just to listen and to try and speak. Right? That's what I did recently, as I'm learning languages right now. In our monastery, we are learning languages because we want to master them, to have a chance to share the Dhamma to people from all kind of cultures. Right? So I'm learning a little bit of French and Polish, which is my mother's mother tongue. So, and I do that mostly by listening, but I had the opportunity to associate our Guru Handru the last few days and see also the way he learns languages, because he's now starting with maybe the 8th or 9th language that he's learning within a short couple of years, right? So within a few years he's mastering language after language. And that's actually something that you can see a lot of times. People who really enjoy learning languages, especially people who understand how it works, they kind of get addicted to that. And then they can learn languages very quickly. But to most of us, we struggle even to learn one. It's because we haven't found the right method, right? But when you know the right method, then that is what you... Once you know how to do something once, you can also do it twice, right? And 3 times. Then it's very easy. And so I started to add some of memorization to my learning strategy. And now I'm not just telling this to you because it's interesting. Yes, it is interesting, but there's also some few things I think we can learn from this. See, when so memorizing in school was always really terrible to me, because it's done with so many expectations. So when you do that and you have a goal as well as you so like with every word that you read, so it's because actually the reason why it's so hard is because we feel that we have to memorize, isn't it? That it is our job to store this into our mind somehow. And when it doesn't happen, then we are frustrated. Because we actually, yes, it is because we feel that we have to achieve that. And then we have all these expectations on doing that. But actually there's a very simple strategy. It's a very simple understanding which can already transform that learning experience into something completely different. See, now I'm also learning the Dhammapada, which, again, I started to do that again. So what do I do there is simply, I'm just reading the stanzas. And as unfamiliar they are to me as they might be, nothing I can relate to sometimes. The words don't sound like anything I know, right? Then of course it is hard to remember, right? So yes, it might take time to learn. That is not something we can change, right? Because it's cause and effect. So that means in order for us to remember something, what we have to do is we need to add all the causes which are necessarily for that effect to happen, right? Now, of course, maybe for you, I don't know, but for you, if you have been born in Sri Lanka and your mother tongue is Sinhalese, sometimes when you read a Dhammapada stanza, many of the words will sound familiar to you. So then, of course, then memorizing is something much easier. Actually, what is your contribution in memorizing? See, in your mind, we could say, or there are such things called memories, right? As well as, so memories are there. And whenever you hear the word, it automatically reminds you, and the mind creates this sort of association with that word that you already know, and whenever and so it becomes very easy to remember, right? So isn't that because of the memories and the views that we have gathered? Yeah, it's because of that knowledge. It's not because we have to do anything, right? It just sticks. We don't know really why, right? And in a similar way, if I really want to progress really quickly, if I really want to remember a stanza really, really quickly, what can I really do? I mean, just because I want to, will it happen? No. It won't just happen because I want to. So therefore, me wanting it won't help me. What it only will do is it will frustrate me a lot. Right? It will make me like stressed and vexed. It creates this stress and vexation in the mind, and then it creates this constant comparing of where you want to be compared to where you are. And whenever that happens in the mind, when the mind compares itself where it is to where I want to be, and it doesn't fit, then what kind of feelings are created? Disappointments about yourself or about your progress. And then these feelings are there, so that means it will also basically affect your enthusiasm, right? And so then soon enough, it's no longer fun. But the thing is, now I just tell myself, when I'm learning, when I'm memorizing, I'm just telling myself, all I really need to do is I need to bring the causes together for that effect. I don't need to memorize anything. That will happen automatically once the causes are together. That's not my job to do. But before that, that's always what I try to do, isn't it? When we learn, what we try to do is we try to remember, we try to learn it. But learning happens automatically if we just add the right causes. What are the causes? Reading, repetition. So I realized this week and over the past weeks and months that one of the key things is repetition, of course. So sometimes when I'm listening to a new kind of content every day, so today there's one podcast, let's say, tomorrow there's another, then I am not easily learning and progressing as if I am just listening to one, and next day maybe another, and then that day after I'm listening to the same one again from the beginning. Because repetition really makes the mind build these associations and structures, so that someday we will be able to relate some different words to things we know. So all these things are created, right? So that's what I realized. Now all I'm doing is I'm not trying to memorize these things. I have 10 minutes. I can't take this knowledge and put it into my mind and now it's there and it's done, right? It doesn't work like that, because it's anicca. So therefore, the only thing I can do is I can try to read it a few times, which creates patterns and creates some sort of structures in the mind. Then I can try to basically try to remember it and try to speak it out in front of myself. And if I don't know the word, then I don't know the word. So then I will check again what's written here, and that will that will add some more causes, right? So in all these things, this is a big process where only thing that happens is causes are added, and that's it. So that means now it becomes kind of fun, right? And the good thing is, this is a truth that is true not just for learning in this case, but in the practice of the Dhamma as well. Once you know how to learn one Dhammapada stanza, how do you learn all of the Dhammapada? So when I ask you, isn't it really, really hard to learn the whole Dhammapada? It's 26 Vaggas, 400, I think 400, something like that, stanzas. That's incredibly hard. How do you do that? The thing is, something that I learned in my Pandu time as an Anagarika, because we had a chance once, our Amadasana Thero, he came to our Pandu Kuti and he gave us a sermon, a wonderful sermon, which he explained that big things are actually not big. Big things are made out of little things. There is no such thing called big things in this world. There's just many, many small things together. And then they manifest what we say a big thing, isn't it? I mean, this is a very profound truth. I mean, this again is actually the principle of anicca in application. Very, very, very practical. So, what does it mean now in this example of Dhammapada? How do you learn one full Dhammapada book? Well, it's obvious, right? Stanza by stanza. You can't learn the book, and you don't need to learn the whole book, isn't it? See, somebody who's trying to learn the whole book, won't he suffer a lot? Because he's starting with the first stanza of the whole book he wants to learn, and he still has so much long to go. So how hard will that journey be? Really hard, right? It's the same analogy to actually my time after my university when I traveled around the world, right? When and these were also thousands of kilometers, nearly 20,000 kilometers by bicycle around the whole world. How do you do that? The answer is, if you know how to drive to the supermarket, you can also do that. You just have to repeat the same thing. There's nothing additional you have to do except for adding the small things. And then, one day, you're suddenly in Vietnam, in Australia, in China. So that's it. So in other words, when we think we have to learn the whole book, I mean, when we take it as one, learning the whole book, that seems incredibly hard, and we have so much long to go, and then we have this big thing in our mind, and then we maybe have such a big respect for that, and this constant comparing that happens. So then it means now we feel like it's, and we define ourselves in terms of the result, and it kills our motivation. But it doesn't matter whether it doesn't matter whether you want to learn the whole book or not. If all you do is by heart the individual stanzas, now we can say that once you did that, you know the whole book, right? That's it. So in other words, what I try to do now is I just try to learn one stanza. And if you know how to learn one, then you will also know how to learn all the others. Because big things are all made out of small things. And in the same way, actually in our lives, the same applies. See, if you know how to change one habit in your life, you can also change all the others, right? If you know how to solve one problem with the Dhamma, lo and behold, you can also solve all others. So the only thing is we have to do it, and we have to practice it, right? It's true, but there's no magic. So these are some of my thoughts regarding memorization, something that I learned this week. And another thing I learned this week was something very, very true, something very important for our lives, which I guess most people also don't realize. And it also brings us towards the deeper truths of the Dhamma as well. See, we always talk about this concept of what we give is what we get, and we have to be good people, and we have to earn merits, and and that is very important. So yeah, that is true. So to me personally, sometimes I feel I don't have anything to say about that. I don't know, maybe that's just my lack, my inability. Maybe that is, I don't know what it is, but however, especially now yesterday I talked to a young gentleman in Germany, so if I were to tell him, try to be good and do good things, he will say like, yeah, I know that, what's new, what do you want to tell me, this is so, we all know that, we all know we should be good and so on, right? So I actually tried to explain him the same thing in a much different way. Something that I learned this week when I was working in the kitchen. I don't know that when you're doing a lot of merits, these ideas come to you. This is not a very, this is at the same time a very deep idea as well as not very difficult to understand, and I'm sure you will understand this. Because in life there's always two cycles at work. In German we call it the Teufelskreislauf. So Teufel means the devil. So this is the cycle of the devil. And then we have the other cycle, which is basically the cycle of heaven or Nibbāna, or however you call it, right? So the same is true in the Dhamma as well. You know, in the Dhamma you also have the path to misery, starting with ignorance and sankhara and vijnana and so on. Basically, how because of ignorance we create our own suffering. That's one way. And then, of course, there's another way, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. And the Noble Eightfold Path, of course, has also basically two kinds of stages. There's the Laukika and Lokuttara, I think, in Sinhala, right? So Laukika means, it comes from, I think, Loka, which means the worldly path. And then at some point, by the achievement of Sotapanna stage, the supramundane samadhi, it becomes the supramundane Noble Eightfold Path. So it doesn't matter, it's just, simply spoken, it's one path, right? That path is, first by doing merits, we start to get a pleasant mindset, start to improve our attitudes and parameters, and become like what we call suduminisu or sudukati. I mean, that's what we call it in a monastery. This pure-hearted and having good intentions towards everyone, being kind to everyone, right? This kind of mentality. And in that environment, you can plant the seed of Dhamma, and then you will start to become, from good you become great, right? Great means you will no longer be someone, you will realize that you have always been a no one, isn't it? So it's the same path we also take in here. So the cycle is very simple, and I was thinking about this because it's affecting me personally in my past, this problem of shyness, right? But these cycles appear there everywhere in life. Everywhere in our lives, there's always these two choices we have, and there's this feedback loop from hell and the feedback loop from heaven, right? So basically these two paths are always there, and we need to know that they are there, and we need to come out of them as much as we can. So now let me explain these two cycles. It's about this problem of inferiority when people have, I mean, I don't know, I'm sure you have made this experience of sometimes you have this feeling of inferiority or being shy, feeling unsure about yourself. I had this a lot, especially in my teenager times. Now it's much reduced. And see, I remember some months ago, I saw there was a woman, and she said that she also used to be very shy in her life. And the problem was, what happened is, so she always felt very shy to talk to people. And when that happened, what did the others think about her? If you see someone who's very shy, what do people usually feel when they see someone like that? From my understanding, usually there are two kinds of feelings people have. Let's say you are in a group of people and you're amusing yourself, you're enjoying yourself, and then there's someone who's somehow not part of it, and maybe he doesn't have that self-confidence. So something we usually feel is like something like pity. That means we feel sometimes pity, or we don't feel really attracted to this person, right? So that is one kind of feeling that happens, that we can feel. And another thing that can happen, this lady was talking about this experience. When somebody feels these feelings, shyness or lack of confidence, he doesn't like to talk with others, and sometimes it can even appear as aloof. You know what is aloof? It's like somebody who feels like he's better than others, right? So I notice this a lot, especially also when people come to the monastery, and when we get all sorts of people in the monastery, and they are not arahants, so of course they come with their own defilements. And I notice that some people, the ones who struggle with this shyness, they get these problems. The other people, because we are so many people in the monastery, the other people feel that they are aloof. They don't want to mingle with them, right? But they only feel shy. They don't necessarily feel that they are really better than others. They might sometimes feel exactly the opposite, right? So that is the second feeling that is usually triggered in others when we behave in this way, or when we feel like this, and that's what basically we communicate through our body language and verbal articulation. So now this week I was thinking about this. So this is how this process works. I will present to you the problem and the solution both. Let's say there's someone who doesn't feel confident. So when somebody doesn't feel confident, will he go to speak to others and talk with them and ask them how they are and mingle with them, or what will he feel about others? He will most likely feel that he's not worthy, or he'll feel a barrier, so he won't speak to others and ask them how they are, right? And associate them. So he will not go towards others. I mean, even we can say, even sometimes people who have lack of confidence, they are very interested in others, but that kind of being interested in others is also not really genuine, right? It's like, I hate myself so much that by learning about you, I can fill the void that I have within me. So when there's someone who behaves to you like that, how do you feel? Do you really respect this person? No, I mean, you feel he's like a little boy or a little child, something like that. So it's hard to love someone like that. So that can also happen, but in this case now I focus on this path. So not being interested in others. And then, of course, what happens with others, they feel like he's not someone who's interested in me, as they feel that he's aloof, so then they also won't talk to us, right? And when others don't talk to us, or to this person, let's say, what will happen when we see that, or when that person sees that? It will actually aggravate this lack of confidence again, right? So this is how it's spiraling more and more into a problem. And people who have these confidence problems, they suffer from this cycle, right? Because it is, and there was this story. Maybe I shared this in the sermon. There was a story I read somewhere. There was a girl, and it took her so many years to build up some friends in her hometown. It took her a few years, and she suffered so much in that time. Then she had some friends which she really needed, right? So she was very emotionally depending on these people. Then what happened was, the parents decided to change places. So they moved to another place, a new house, a new school, and no one that she knew. And when the parents told her that, no, we are going to move places, she became so afraid. Oh my God, what's going to happen now? I have to find new friends again. And what if nobody will like me? What if I will not find any friends? Right? These thoughts came into her mind. And then this cycle turned into action. Right? She had these worries, she had these fears. What if nobody will like me? What if I do something wrong? So she had so many fear to do something wrong, and she felt like she wasn't, maybe she's here and others are here, so she didn't dare to speak and talk with others. And then of course the others felt like, who is she? She seems to be not interested in us. She's living in her own world. And then she didn't find any friends, actually. Right? And that caused her nearly like a depression in a teenage life. As a teenager, she became so depressed because it became worse and worse. So this is the feedback loop from hell. Now, let's think about the escape. And this is where this principle of what we give is what we get actually comes into play as well. But in a way which is a bit, I find very interesting to see it, the way it works in here. Now we can just turn around all these things, right? From lack of confidence, what will we write down? We just make it confidence. And you know how you are when you are confident. When you're confident, do you even consider, should I go and speak to this person, or do you just go and do it? And do you not generally feel interested in others? You don't have to fake it, right? It's our second nature in that moment. And we can do jokes, and we can all these things are there. So from confidence comes, normally, easily, interest in others. And when interest in others is there, what do others feel about us? What do they start to feel about us? They'll start to like us. Because don't we all like for others to be interested in us? that's because that gives us pleasure. And that is because of our this process of jati, right? In our minds, we all have this wanting for others to be interested in us. And that is one of the things which is being fulfilled at a time, So others will like us. Others feel very comfortable and very warm in our presence. And then naturally, what will their mind want to do? They will want to seek our presence again, because that warmth is there. Therefore, they will come to us and they'll reflect back to us this happiness and warmth that they feel. And that signals what to our mind? When others come to us and when they smile when they're coming to us, when they bring this mood, then it signals to our mind that we are valuable, we are important, we are good. We are right the way we are, which again increases the confidence. So these are the two processes which both work in our lives, and I'm sure you have experienced both of them at some point, right? Now the problem is, how do you use this? Because it's good to know that it is there, but using it would be nice, wouldn't it? So the problem is this. Can you start with here? That what I mean is, you can start, once confidence is there with you, all the other steps are very easy, right? But when you're not confident, then you can't start it, isn't it? Because you don't have the confidence. Or can you create confidence just like that? I mean, that would be easy, but that's not possible. That's why most people are so depending in this moment. And when they are trapped in this, they're so depending on basically the next vipaka, which changes their environment in their mind, which changes their mood, right? See, when somebody has been at work and he feels like he's a no one, and the boss blames him, or you haven't done this, or maybe he sees his best friend going out with this kind of person or having this kind of grades in school, and then out of comparison, we feel a no one. We feel that we are no one. We are so bad. We are lacking so many things. Now we're trapped in this, right? In this feeling of I'm a no one. So then, mostly what people try to do is, they are waiting for the next vipaka or the next situation that changes their opinion about them. For example, you go to your friend and tell him how you feel, and then your friend tells you, no, come on, that's not true. But don't you know that you are also good, and you also have, look at this, look, you are so good in this, look. See, when they are saying these things, what they're basically doing is, now they are the trigger, it's an outside trigger that changes your feeling from lack of confidence to confidence. And once you're there, once you can smile, all the rest will happen. But see how depending people usually are for the changing of their feelings to happen. They rely on others, or others means actually their vipaka. From the Buddhist point of view, the friend meeting that friend is simply the vipaka, which means the care and the motivation and the uplifting we have given, we receive, basically, right? So, but still now we are left with this problem that, that we can't make this and start from here. But there's another smart way to understand this cycle. Because you don't have to start from here, you can also start from here. This you can't control, whether others come and talk to you or not, you can't decide that. So this is not something we can start, but we can start in this. So these are the two places one can start this cycle. Because that is something we can really do, isn't it? We can't change our emotions. Okay. So we want to make sure that you're comfortable. Okay, so we were talking about the feedback loop from heaven, right? And the question, how do we use this in our lives? And since this might be helpful as well here, see, there's always a relationship in our life. Most people in this world start from the wrong place in their lives. And that is, they start with the emotions, right? So emotions become what we want to keep and want to have in our lives, and emotions become the motivation of what we do, right? For most people, that's the way. I'm feeling angry, so I'm shouting. It's because that's how I feel, right? Because we are so focused on emotions. So the thing is, if we focus on emotions as the main motivation of our actions, and if we focus on keeping, having, and owning emotions as the goal of our lives, that life will not be a very successful life. Because that is what animals actually do, right? Animals do the same thing. The Buddha had another idea, and to understand that, we have to understand this feedback loop between actions and emotions. So most people try to start from emotions, just like here. This is just a more general principle. And from the way they feel, they act. But the thing is, if we start to do simply what is right and what is beneficial, no matter what you feel, no matter the emotions, especially the good and healthy emotions, they will come anyways, right? So I am not saying that emotions are wrong and we shouldn't feel any emotions. Like, emotions are to a certain extent healthy on this path, and as long as we are not arahants, so there's no point in trying to not feel any emotions. So emotions are not something to be stopped, but something to be understood, right? So attachment to emotions is another thing, right? That's a problem. But when you're living a life, doing the right thing consistently, do you have to worry about the emotions? These things will automatically fall into place. You don't have to worry about that. But the more we focus on emotion, that's the leading point of our lives. Now our actions become worse and worse, and we think it's all about feeling good. And that's all, right? So that's why people, for example, sometimes there are people who want to be in a relationship just to feel good, right? So in other words, if they feel a little bit not well because of small things that happen in another person, or if they feel a feeling of desire for someone else, then they take that feeling as the trigger to do something which is basically their own ruin, right? Because there are people who change their partners like clothes. Why? Because they want to because they're focusing on the wrong thing, which is the emotions. But when you focus on the actions, now that thing will automatically fall into place, and then that's what we call a so-called successful relationship. Successful in a mundane sense, but when we unravel the Dhamma, we understand the limits, the vices and virtues of that kind of thing, right? We have talked about this last week, what relationships are in a deeper sense. Same here. What we can actually really do is, we can focus on this step. So to breaking out, so the point I wanted to explain, in explaining these things, is something I found very useful, and it came to me as in this way. I've never thought about it so clearly, in a very clear way, how to break down from this cycle. I don't know whether maybe you or someone else have problems with this. This is the way it works. The solution is, whether you're feeling confident or not, what you can do is you can always try and show interest in others. Genuinely has to be done genuinely, right? Not with any kind of abusive intentions. It has to be genuinely a good intention. And see, that's how the principle of what you give is what you get works in this example, right? It has to do with that. So, but there's one small problem with this. The problem is, it's not easy. It's not easy, isn't it? It's not easy to change the way we are habituated, the way we think, the way we are conditioned to feel. And the reason why most people never get rid of this problem is, of course, because they are stuck in a kind of a comfort zone. And growing is always a bit difficult, right? Growing. Because when we, growth always means to overcome certain resistance in our mind. That resistance is only in our mind. Changing is always something difficult because of basically these mental barriers. They are not real barriers. They are just mental. Attachments are basically what determine the barriers in our mind. And whenever we try to cross a boundary, now the resistance is something we feel. And that's what keeps us from changing. That's the reason why most people never actually use their full potential in their lives the way that they can. See, Guru Hamdu is one good example. We can do so much. That means you and I, the happiness we could have compared to the happiness that you and me we have is extreme. There's an extreme difference. See, the only reason why we settle for a happiness which we think that's normal, and that's how I have to be, maybe because I'm not worthy more, or because I can't do more, and all these excuses or all these things we believe. But actually, actions, if we only understand the power of actions in our lives, the sky is really the limit, right? Because we are not fixed in the way we are as people, that we just have to be like this and we are like this, right? Because what we are right now is basically just the sum of all the actions that we have done in the past. Or we can say it is an aggregation of causes. Now, if you change or add some other causes, of course you can create something else. You can create more, or you can progress. So your life can change and improve, and the key to that is actions. The problem is, actions are something sometimes difficult because we have to overcome these barriers, internal barriers, and that's something our mind doesn't easily like to do. But with understanding the trap in which we are in and understanding the benefits of doing it, we can do that. And that is that's why it's so important to have the right associations in our lives. Associating the right people who push us across these boundaries and help us how to do that. Because otherwise we will of course be stuck in the ways we are. And if we don't change our actions, And if we don't improve our mindset, then our emotions will stay the way they are and our lives will never progress. So we can't expect anything in life other than that. Yes, sometimes you might be lucky, right? Sometimes without changing, you will have a lucky day. Sometimes there will be someone who, you might win the lottery. That's not something that requires any change, right? It simply means you are lucky. But in the long run, it will not have any effect on your happiness. I mean, there are stories of people who win the lottery and at the end of the day, they just spend all of it in 1 or 2 years and then they're back to where they were. Because if you give a fool a million, then he's still a fool and he will still stay a fool and he will not become a happy man. Maybe the opposite is true. He will become an even more unhappy man than he was because he will use the money exactly for the wrong things because he's using the wrong principles for his happiness, right? So that means this is the step where we can improve in this example, and more wider, of course, same is true in many other areas of our lives. So I find that quite a simple way to understand some of them. Actually, basically, these are some very good, clear answers on a mundane way to solve our problems, right? Now, this is not the end solution, the solution that will solve all of our problems forever, isn't it? Why? The thing is, an inconfident man can become a confident man in a matter of doing something. But that confidence is still something very conditional, right? So in this case, why does this step work? Others come and talk to us, and others like us. How does that lead to more confidence in our mind? Have you ever asked yourself this question right now? It is because it satisfies a wanting in our mind, isn't it? Confidence can only increase in your mind. I mean, seeing others come and talk to you or like you, when others like you and that makes you feel good, what does it tell about your mind? That your mind's happiness depends on what people think about you, doesn't it? That means the confidence that you have here will be there for as long as people like you. If they don't, your confidence will soon be gone. In other words, confidence is not something you can achieve. As in, once you achieve, now you're confident and that's done, right? Done forever. Now I'm confident, so I don't need to do anything anymore. Confidence is only an effect or a manifestation. Now we're coming to words which are very new to some of you, but I will talk about this now for the rest of the time because it's really important to understand what it means. See, when I traveled around the world, why did I do that? If I'm really, really honest with you, I liked traveling and I liked the nature and doing something like that, but I also felt that if I have done something so extraordinary as that, then I always have something I can talk about. Then I can be confident because I have done something that is special. And when others ask me, so who are you? I can talk about this. And this will give me a confidence or also a happiness which will always stay with me. And then after that, in my life, I can always rely on having done this. That was my idea. And actually, when I came to Vietnam and I finished the tour, more than 10,000 kilometers and all this, sometimes very dangerous things I have done, traveling through the desert in the summer, in the heat, right? These things were not, my life was in danger some of the times, right? On all the trucks passing me by all the time, every day. So, but when I came to Vietnam, I really felt now, yes, I have achieved something now. So I have become someone more. I have become someone else than what I was before, right? See, this is always how we feel the world. We feel this world and our life has different kind of states. These are very different states. Like, as an example, and I'll remove this now. I felt that by doing this, I can become someone else or something more, something different, something better, right? Isn't that always what we try to achieve in our lives? Sometimes somebody wants to become, the things we want to become, maybe I want to become a teacher. So, not being a teacher and being a teacher are very different things. Or let's take people who are single. Being single and being in a relationship is not the same thing. It's very different. Very different, right? When I say this word different or special, these are really, really deep. I'm connecting this with a very deep idea. I will explain this little by little, so let's see. But this is basically the point, right? So so that means it's also always connected with this idea of fixed things. Fixed things means, see, when we want to achieve something like happiness in our lives, or when in this example that I gave you, becoming confident is something that you can become, right? So that means you do something, now you get it, and then now it's created. It's created. It's a little bit like this. See, I tell you, there's a tea in this world, and that's a very special thing, right? So this is not a tea. What is this? These are just 2 pens. Very boring. But there's a tea. That tea is much more than that. That is much better, right? It's a very different thing than this. In other words, I can also show you how to get this. Do you want to know how to do that? How to get this? You need to take this hand and this pen, and you need to put this on top of the other. And this should be in vertical. This should be on horizontal, right? Then you will see. Then you'll be able to create a tea, right? Good. Let's do it. Ta-da! So this is the hard part now. This is the part that takes you a lot of work. Taking this, because is this good the way it is? Well, if there's such a thing called a tea in this world, which is very different from this, can you enjoy this? So also my teacher always asks this question, can an artist enjoy a blank canvas? Or can, let's say, average, you're not average, but let's say some normal woman, can she enjoy the look of her face the moment she woke up and it's not covered with makeup? Just as an example. She can't enjoy that, right? Why? Because that is one, and the other one is the one with makeup, right? So where I have applied the makeup. So it's it's applied, done, right? So it's very different. It's another thing, right? So the Buddha, he tried to say, you can't apply makeup. Now, that's something you have to understand very clearly, because I'm not saying, now you can say, we can't apply makeup, what do you want? Can't I go in front of the mirror and apply makeup? Surely it looks different from the beginning, right? Yes, it looks different, but is it done? Like, you have applied this now, so now that means you have put some causes together and now you created an effect, and that effect now is independent of causes. This is what I'm trying to say. Because a created thing is done, right? Done means you don't have to supply the causes anymore. Do you understand that idea? Is that the case for makeup? I mean, otherwise, why do you have to apply it twice? Why do you have to wake up and why next morning you have to apply it again? You should be done. You have applied this now, so you can be done. So this should stay forever. But the thing is this. Yes, you can bring causes together. Right? So let's think about this. Have I created this tea? If this tea is created, I shouldn't be able to put this apart in any way, right? Right? For example, if this is a tea now, then what am I touching here? I'm touching certainly the upper part of the tea. So that means by moving this pen, I should always also move the other one. So let me do it. Let me move the tea. It doesn't work. This pen doesn't move with this pen. In other words, does this pen know that it belongs to the red pen? It doesn't know that. This is a blue pen, this is a red pen. So that means, while they are arranged in this way, you can see a tea here. But is this created? No. The reason why you see a tea here right now, is the tea that you see right now here because of what I have done a minute ago? That means, is this the tea I have created 1 minute ago? No, because this tea is not created. The reason why you see a tea in this moment is because the pen is here in this moment, and the pen is here in this moment. This is why you see a tea here. If this pen is not here, the tea, you won't be able to feel a tea, or there won't be any tea, right? So the tea is not created. You need to keep these. Imagine I give you this. I say, here, this is my tea. Now take this home with you and show it to your son. Is this going to be a stressful job for you, or is this going to be an easy job for you? It will be stressful, right? Why? Because when you put this, let's say you put this into your car, into the back of your car, or maybe on the seat. When you brake the car, what will happen? Like if this is on the seat, if this is like this on the seat next to you, let's say you're driving and you're alone in the car, this is on the seat. If you're braking, what will happen? Now this will roll down. This will not. So isn't this a really hard thing to do? Keeping these pens like this? Why? Because they are not intrinsically together, right? They are not intrinsically one. This is not created, right? So the reason why you see a tea here right now is because the pens are here right now. If I would have removed one of the pens a few seconds before, you wouldn't be able to see a tea here. So can the causes, can this pen and this pen, in this moment, can the causes in this... So when we are talking about this cause and effect, then what are these two pens here? We call them the causes. The T here, in this regard, we call them the effect. What we always feel in our lives, with everything, as well as here, that there is a created separate T. In other words, this T is done. As much as I will try to convince you that this T is not done, trust me, I tell you, because of the way our mind is conditioned, because of this disease which is there in our mind, we feel createdness. Created means doneness. So this T is here, created. But in reality, what is really happened? I just put these two pens next to each other, close together. Nothing more than that. These are just two pens close together, and their resulting effect is what we call T. This is a resulting effect. In other words, is there more than these two pens? No. So let's say I would tell someone, look, this tea is really good. This tea is really special. It's very different from what you have right now. This is what you have right now, but the tea is much better. So I'm explaining this simple example, by the way, not because of my intellectual satisfaction in thinking about pens or science or something like that, cause and effect. This is to understand the condition in our mind and the problem that is there in the root of our mind. And because from there spring all these things where actually we feel these differences in the world, right? Difference between man and woman, Buddhists and Christians, and young and old. So we feel young and old, we feel I am a human and I'm going to die, right? The reason why we suffer from things called becoming old, as well as becoming sick, I mean, I'm talking about mentally. The reason why we suffer from these things is because we have this disease in our mind. So this is what I'm trying to explain you today, and I will do that in the next weeks until eternity, until as long as the causes are there, and until you have, as long as you have the merits, or as long as there are merits or there's a deficiency, that will happen. But you might not be part of the next sermon. Why? Because you are not intrinsically part of this here, right? You are not intrinsically part of this gathering. It's not like you can sit yourself here and you're done, right? Can you? No, because with every moment you are spending merits. You're spending your life. You're spending a breath, right? The reason why you can listen to me right now is because you're spending, these causes are coming together right now to make this effect possible. Your brain is expending some of the energy that you have eaten in the morning, right? So that means you understanding my words in this moment is consuming some of the causes. Next moment, you will need new causes, isn't it? So that's why you have to keep breathing all your life. You can't just take a breath and now you have breathed. So and that's also why actually you have not born. Means your mother brought you to this world and then you are there. So that means you are now simply there. Because what your mother has done, or your mother and father, or the nature, basically, I don't know, all of these things together, is they have put these things together. Putting together means what? Actually not together. Because what is together? What does together really mean? Is this together or is this together? How close is together? Together, see, together is only a view. right? Together is a convention. Like if I write 1 and 2, how close, when do you consider them together? Even that depends on for what. And yeah, so coming back to the thing I was trying to explain. So what nature has done is they have arranged these things in this way. And when you arrange these two pens in this way, now of course what you will see, the resulting effect will be a T. So of course you can't say nothing has happened. If somebody were to say nothing has happened, I mean you are here right now. And there are causes for that, and because, I mean, nothing has happened would mean that actually, how to say, energy has come together. So that's what we call being born, right? So it's not like nothing has happened when we were born. Causes came together, just like this. Now these pens are like this, and when I put them like this, the pens and their arrangement has changed. But what has not happened is that a T, something is done here. Something created has happened. Creation, this finished, that has not happened. That's only something we feel. And when we feel like that, this is also important to understand, when you feel that this is a fixed T or a created T, now you feel that this is so much different from this. And now also another thing is, if I remove this T, what will you feel? Sorry. If I remove this pen, not this T, if I remove this pen, actually you feel that I'm removing it. From where? From whom? I'm removing it from the T which is here. See, this is how our feeling of death comes to being. The feeling of death is actually nothing more than us feeling that something that is created here is again split apart, right? But what the Buddha tried to explain, what we need to understand is that all that you find here is these two pens being close together in this moment because of a force which keeps them together or close to each other. And that resulting force or this resulting effect is what we observe as a T. And this is the characteristic which manifests. But this is not done. In other words, what's going to happen in the next moment is not created from this moment. It will be created from the causes in the next moment. In other words, just like when you're driving the car, see, if this would be created T, you can make a very simple test. Now, if I gave you a T, you don't have to worry. You just put it into your car. You can drive, you can brake, you can turn, whatever you want to do. You can be sure that once you come out of this car drive, once you arrive at home, you can take the T and go home. Will that be? Does that make sense? I mean, what I'm saying is that how it works? That can you take things for granted in this world? No. So in other words, just because these two pens are like this in this moment, what will be in the next moment? You can't say it, right? Because what will happen in the next moment? Because the moment I drop my finger, see, a completely different effect will be there. So in our minds, however, we feel this fixedness, and then we feel that we take things for granted, and that's basically, by the way, the reason why people want to marry, right? Because we have this feeling that now me being single means, for example, like, how is it when you have to hold the hands or like you want to be with a person of the other gender, but you're not together with this person? Isn't that a lot of effort? It takes a lot of effort, but we feel that now once I can marry, then all the effort goes away, and now it's basically easy. This is the way we feel about this, but we don't actually realize, and people don't even realize that even when they are married, they are not actually married. But what that means is, see, when you go to work, for you to meet your spouse again, can you be sure it will happen? Still, you have to drive home, right? And this is also the reason why, see, can't the spouse always cheat on you? And can't it be also split up again? See, these are conventions in society. Society has created this convention of marriage you can marry one person, and sometimes like in Iran or in Muslim countries, then they say it's 2 or 3 or 4, right? These are conventions that the world has done. Now, it is very important to understand, I'll try to explain this point to you. So by taking these pens together, what we have not been able to achieve is to create a T. And the reason why I have explained this to you, because make the test, drive home with it, and you will know. Because you need to keep the causes together. But what has happened is there was a certain environment was created, right? A certain environment that has been created, or that has happened. So that means the difference between this and this. Now we come back to this point of see, with this lack of confidence and confidence, it's a bit like this. 12 symbolizes lack of confidence, and 21 symbolizes confidence. When you look at 12 and 21, don't you feel like they are very, very different from each other? Yes, because 12 is 12 and 21 is 21. One can never be the other. 12 is a number, it has a 6 as the divisor, right? It's an even number, 21 is an uneven number, so they are very, very, very different, right? Even and uneven is one of the first things that your mind will tell you. So these are very different, but the Buddha tried to explain to us that although you see so many differences in your world, in your life, right? I don't look the same way that you do, and these leaves don't look like this pen, or these seem so different. There's no fundamental difference here in the world. Fundamental difference. What do I mean? See, the only difference between these two is their arrangement. The arrangement of the causes. What are the causes for this? Is this a created 21? Is this created? In other words, if I can create something, that means it is something that I wrote down 10 minutes ago or 2 minutes ago. Right? So when I wrote this down, now I created this 21. Actually, what I did at that time was I brought together some energy, but created it was not. The reason why you see a 21 in this moment is because the 2 is still here, or not the 2 is still there actually, that is not true. There's a 2 in here right now, and there's a 1 in here right now. That is why you see 21 right now, and the same holds there for the 12. So the 21 you perceive in this moment is there because of the causes which are there in this moment. That's why you can't take this for granted, because any moment when the causes change, a different effect will manifest. Okay. Then what are the causes here of this? 2 and 1. Right? 2 and 1 are the causes. And what are the causes in here? 2 and 1 also. Both are so it's the same causes. The only thing that is different is their arrangement. So that means there is no unique 21 in here. It is 2 and 1 together, or creating this effect of 21 when they come together in this arrangement. And this one is when 1 and 2 come together in another arrangement, their resulting effect will be different. So we are looking at 2 different resulting effects. So we have to understand this world in this very, very new way of resulting effects. See, the difference between man and women is not because there are men in this world and there are women in this world. It is the same atoms, same electrons and protons, but when you arrange them differently, the effect will be different. Arrange means not like fixed, but when they present themselves arranged in a different way. But that's basically what we need to understand. Nothing in this world, there are no fixed separate entities in this world. Why this is important? Because when you understand we always feel the problem I have with my life is I have a lack of confidence, right? I have a lack of confidence. So what I should do is I should have a confidence. The problem is not actually in the lack of confidence and in the confidence. The problem is that you feel that they are yours. See, isn't 12 or isn't this T a characteristic? It's a quality that manifests. T is a quality. These 2 pens are qualities. When you put them together in this way, a resultant quality emerges. But there's no such thing called a T here. Similarly, 12 is a characteristic, and lack of confidence is a characteristic or a quality, but our mind always feels onus. See, again, now maybe I'm opening too many doors. That will be something I'll try to, in the next few weeks, I'll try to settle these things and explain with different examples. For now, I'll try to explain it as simple as I can. See, in this world, characteristics are there. For example, confidence is a characteristic, and lack of confidence is also a characteristic. But the problem our mind has, why we suffer, is because we feel that these belong to someone, belong to, for example, me. I have this lack of confidence, or I have this confidence. This process of jati, it happens in our mind. Now I feel like I'm explaining it too complicated. Okay, I'll try to finish this point and then we'll see. So these are characteristics. But we don't feel the world like that. The way we feel the world is characteristics belong to something. Lack of confidence is mine. Confidence is mine. So this belonging to me. So all that we really need to understand is this world has characteristics, but no, not that they belong to someone. These are the effects. Otherwise, the thing is, see, then everything in this world becomes the same. These two pens in this way manifest this effect. But it is not fundamentally different from this one. This is also just an effect. Yes, arrangement is different, but there's nothing lacking in this. Nothing is lacking here, nothing is lacking in here. So the last few weeks in the monastery, we have been talking about this idea that everything in this world is perfect. The world as it really is, everything is perfect. But that's not how we feel. For example, think about this. What do you feel exists in here at this moment? A tea, isn't it? So what if I were to do this? It's still a tea, right? But that tea has the top part is a little bit off, isn't it? It's a little bit off. So isn't there something lacking in here? Something not as good as it could be? So this is a skewed tea, right? That's how our mind feels at this moment, because we can't understand this concept of anicca. So therefore, what our mind feels because of this jati in this moment is that this is a skewed tea. So it is a tea, but that tea is not in its optimum state. So can you enjoy looking at this? No. What does your mind want me to do? Your mind wants me to move it back here. So if I do it now, what will happen? If I do it, what will you feel? What will your mind feel at this moment? The mind will feel happiness, pleasure, release of vexation. Right? Because what happens in our mind at this moment constantly is it's trying to project something fixed on this arrangement. So these are two pens, right? Well, all I'm doing is I'm moving two pens. So there's no good or bad in this. These are just pens in different arrangements, manifesting different effects. This is one, this is another, this is another, this is another, right? So that's all there is. But our mind is doing more than that. Our mind is trying to project something fixed on here, because of this jati, right? So an arahant's mind will not feel that something is wrong with this. So this feeling of something is wrong here, that is because, so this is only an example, right? So of course you have to understand this where it actually happens in your life. For example, when you get sick, you feel that you are there and you are a human, but something is a little bit off with that human, right? Or for example, if you consider about me, don't you feel like there's a monk sitting in front of you, but he has a cough? So is that the monk in optimal state or the monk in a less than optimal state? Yeah, it's a monk in a less optimal state, right? But in nature, there's nothing in a non-optimal state. In nature, everything is in an optimal state. Because there's no monk here, there's no fixed human here. All that really happens here is causes are arranged in a certain way. Atoms, electrons and protons arranged in a certain way and manifesting a characteristic. So this humanness that you feel here is not because there's a human here. What it means is humanness is the effect of all these protons and electrons and the food that we have eaten, right? So this is only energy. Energy coming together in a certain way, manifesting a certain quality. But because our mind cannot feel like this is a characteristic, it feels this is a tea, very special, unique, fixed tea. So now what I have done is I have distorted it. Vikurti in Sinhala, I think. So this is still a tea, but it's distorted. So we feel something is wrong. But think about it, a person from the jungle who is looking at this, do you think he feels something is wrong with this? He can't feel that because he doesn't even know what is a tea. So, in other words, that is only a view. If you feel that something is wrong with this, but another person doesn't feel that something is wrong with this, then it can't be in here. It can't be in this. It's based on the pattern that your mind or that our mind tries to project, the fixed order it tries to experience, based on which now, because in our mind constantly at this moment, it's comparing this, which is actually a characteristic, to this entity that we have in our mind, which is this tea. Then this feeling of lack is created. And then you can feel something like this pen can write. So this writing is something this pen can do. But actually, writing is the quality that manifests in here. Or not writing, but the ability to write is manifesting. The energy has gathered in a certain way to manifest this quality of being able to write, and among other things. But the pen is not the owner. I mean, so what do we mean then by the pen? What is the meaning of a pen? Is it that the pen has this characteristic of writing, or when all these different causes come together in this way, the resulting characteristic is what we call pen? It must sound like, oh, Swaminathan, these are the same things. What's the difference? At the beginning that might feel like that, but it's a huge difference. It's such a subtle point, but this makes all the difference in our worldview, right? So this cause and effect principle might sound like something you have already understood or already known, but it's really a very subtle point, not difficult to understand, but that will change everything. Because once you see this as a characteristic, not as the pen which has characteristics, then you will not even have a problem in your mind if this goes empty. Because it is not this that goes empty. Right? So when we say the empty pen, see, isn't there a lack that we feel? An empty pen is somehow not good. Because it can't write. And in our mind we feel there's some that's not good. So we can't enjoy that. We feel there's an inherent lack in this world, and this is the reason why we suffer in all these things that happen in our lives, right? When for example, when I'm single, there's a lack that people feel when they're single. Why? Because they feel that I'm a human and I'm a man, and a man should be with a woman. So there's something incomplete with this arrangement as it is, because we can't see it as an arrangement. Whenever we feel these entities, we always talking about complete and incomplete. And therefore, and that's why we feel this big difference between single and relation. But there's no fundamental difference. Single is this, and this is a relationship. So it's not that they are the same thing, as in it's a different arrangement, but still these are only two pens, nothing more. When you can see the world in this way, you can never suffer. Because all that really happens is these causes will show themselves to you in different ways. Sometimes in your life you will be single, sometimes you will be in a relationship. But these are just effects. There's never anything created, breaking apart. My relationship is not going well these days. See, all these are feelings we have because we feel there is an existing relationship. In this case, a relationship between these two. I mean, as in, they are part of something more, something called T, which they are not. So I hope now you can get an understanding of the basic idea that in this world everything is perfect, but that's not how we perceive this world, because we feel fixed things. We feel owners of characteristics. And we feel that these are not the same things. So that's why we always try to achieve something. And we feel that we can achieve something. See, I wanted to learn physics in my university because I thought if I can gather all this knowledge, I can become a knowledgeable man. And that's not the same as being a man without knowledge. Having knowledge is something much better than not having any knowledge. And most people in this world try to achieve happiness by knowing a lot, or by having a lot of money, or by having a lot of wealth, or material things, or gathering experiences, right? Having seen so many countries in this world. These are things we try to do by becoming someone special. And we are giving so much effort in trying to achieve that, so much hard work, trying to fill a void which is not even real. The void that we feel is only a feeling, not a reality in the outside world. If somebody will understand that all we're really doing is just rearranging causes, we wouldn't have to do this. That's the point. We don't have to do that. We can enjoy even this. See, if I tell you this is a T but it's skewed, I'm essentially giving you only a view of what should be and what is not. Now you will start to feel like there's something wrong with this, because now you can no longer enjoy the beauty of this effect. Now you'll want to change it. And that takes you work. That's why the people in this world try so hard to work hard to achieve happiness. And still, they never will be able to achieve that. See, I can learn a lot, but can that knowledge be really mine? Can I say that I am a knowledgeable man? Why do I say that it is not like this? Because I know you will intuitively feel, of course it is possible to become a knowledgeable man. So in other words, it is possible to own knowledge. It can be mine. See, the other day I told, did I or did I not? So we will finish in a few minutes, but the last point maybe, because it's also a bit of more of a practical point. See, when I was in school, I learned how to solve mathematics, sine, cosine, and triangles and these things. If I have learned this, and now I have this ability, I have this knowledge, I should be able to use it whenever I want and the way I want. So whenever somebody shows me an exercise, I should be able to solve it. The other day when I was correcting the exam for the O-level students in our school, it was long into the night. It was already 3 o'clock in the morning because it had to be done by the morning, so I had to do that in the night. So when I became so tired that there was a point where I became so tired that when I looked at the exercises, even I could no longer make sense of the exercises. I couldn't solve the exercises. Now I want you to think why I'm saying this to you. See, if I have this knowledge, I should always be able to solve and use the knowledge as I want. Right? Any knowledge which is yours, you should be able to use it whenever you want. Whenever you want. See, that's why you feel, now I have accumulated this knowledge and it will be with me. Then my question is, for how long will it be with you? If I just cut one nerve in your brain, then what? What are you going to say? You have nothing. The reason why today you still know what you knew yesterday is because it is given to you at this very moment again. The nature permits you to know it right now. Right? It's because of your nerves working at this moment, your body being in the right shape, and you're not tired as much as an example. All these different causes align for you to know. So if I ask you, who's the president of Sri Lanka or the president of the USA? Now you feel that your knowledge comes to you. In other words, you have this knowledge. Now imagine if I were to ask you the same questions in 2 minutes, but before that I take half of your brain out. You will not be able to answer the question. You will not even understand my question. So in other words, that knowledge is not yours. And that's why you will always have to be afraid, and you will always have to work so incredibly hard not to lose that knowledge. That has to be defended. So you're fighting against nature. You're fighting against time. That's why with all this, see, that's why we're never done enjoying life. Can you see anyone in this world who has achieved happiness and now he can really enjoy what he has worked hard to achieve? If you accumulate money, you have to manage that money as well. It won't be yours. Somebody will want to snatch some of it from you. Sometimes the inflation will make it useless, right? Sometimes, because value is not really there, it's just a perceived value. Sometimes economy will, the currency will will change and suddenly you stand there with nothing. That's why life basically means, for all of us, until we come to understand this, working hard to keep the things I have gathered with me so that they don't go away, which is a constant effort that has no end, ever, as well as trying to gather the things which I still don't have. And that will be a job you can never finish. And that is what we have done, not just in this life, but in so many lives before that as well. So all this becomes unnecessary once you realize that in this world you have only arrangements. Nothing called you or me, yours or mine's. Different qualities exist. That's it. Then you don't have to gather anything, because you can't make anything yours. And you wouldn't feel that there's anything wrong with you not having knowledge. That is also perfect. Right? It's just what society tells us, that knowledge is something that can make you a man. That is the only views. Now to finish this, I'll just end with a caveat. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't live our lives in a conventional world where we have to educate ourselves and manage the things that we have to manage. Because as we have this life, we are gifted with this very precious opportunity to realize the truth. The ultimate truth of life can be realized in this life, in this time of in this time where the Buddha's teachings exist, which is a very rare thing. Although most of our life we just spend managing things which don't have a real essence, a real value, and which can't satisfy us, and then we need to keep doing that without any end in sight. Even after this life, we'll still keep doing this if we don't realize how to free us from this. So this is this possibility exists. So that's why we have to make good care of our body, maintain it well, eat healthy, and do as much merit as we can do, so that we can progress on this path towards our salvation. That's why I say you should live. That's why I recommend you try to live in harmony and following the conventions of this world. But that effort will be significantly less than what most people try to do, is finding happiness by gathering stuff. Right? Becoming an educated man as the end goal of your life. I can tell you I have tried this, but I know that even Albert Einstein, one of the smartest physicists in this world, even when he won a Nobel Prize, even he had a problem that when desire struck, when he felt that something special in this world, because he felt there was something special. So he felt there's a woman. So when he saw a woman, he felt something special, and the desire struck him. So his mind was not free from desire, which means it was not free from suffering. Because as you know by now, whenever there's a wanting, that always leads to vexation. Right? And finally, I'll just end with this Dhammapada stanza that I have learned this week, where the Buddha has explained what happens to a person who has a lot of desires. So the Buddha said, Manojassa pamatta charino tanha vadati maluvaviya. So that means a person who is addicted to careless living and he's just following his desires, his cravings grow like a creeper. So like a plant that is spreading all over the place, right? It's just growing and growing and growing. And then the other two stanzas was So palavati hura hurang ichangva no palang ichangva vanasming vanaro. So that means just like a monkey is jumping from tree to tree and chasing the fruits one by another, such a person will go on in this journey of samsara, jumping from life to life. Right? So that is the case for even such people called as Albert Einstein, because they have spent all their life knowing a lot, but never fixing the problem, which is desire, aversion, and delusion, which we can fix by understanding that there's no such special things in this world, right? That this is not, that this is just an arrangement, just as much as this. So then you won't feel any difference between men and women. Then there's no food that you can't eat, and then you'll be able to enjoy all of life. Okay, so thank you for, I hope you got something, and then I want you to put these things into practice that you learned and contemplate about them. And then little by little we are going to be able to progress on this path, and I'll be able to explain you clearer and clearer in various ways how you can practice and how you can achieve that. Okay. So, let's share our merits. Let us take a moment to transfer all the merits that we have acquired today by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pirit, listening, not chanting Pirit, inviting the Swami Nohanse to deliver the sermon, and offering flowers and oil lamps to the Buddha, and listening and contemplating on the sermon. First and foremost, let us transfer these merits to all the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasakas, upasikas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha, and who have passed it down through the generations of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand, and comprehend the Dhamma. Let's also transfer these merits to all members of the Mahasangha, present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all of the chapters, who have dedicated their lives towards the noble path and have committed themselves towards the betterment of all sentient beings. Let us not forget that among them are the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side, through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let's also transfer these merits to Guru Swami Nohanse, as well as all the monks resident at the monastery, as well as the Anagarika attached to the monastery. Let's also transfer these merits and express our gratitude to all those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by transliterating these sermons, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. If any of them have been born in a woeful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in a blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. And let us also transfer these merits to each and everyone who is involved in organizing and making this event possible, which is all the staff of the Royal Institute, the chairman and everyone in the administration. And may through the power of these merits, each of them, they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces, our elders, friends and acquaintances, employers and employees, and to all those who have helped us, supported us, and assisted us, including our teachers. And may through the power of these merits they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakradeva as well as all the numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddhasasana. Let's also transfer these merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May through the power of these merits they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to our ancestors, to all those who have predeceased us, all those who have been family and friends to us in this infinitely long journey of samsara. And let's also transfer these merits to all members of the armed forces as well as the police forces who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those who lost their lives in the war, be they friend or foe, rejoice in the merits we've acquired today. Let's also transfer these merits to all those who lost their lives in natural calamities, such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, and pandemics, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who've been family and friends to us in this infinite long journey of samsara. And may through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the warful plane, they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, let's all resolve that, may through the power and blessings of all the merits we've acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahants on this blessed land. And finally, let's all resolve that, may through the power of all the merits we've acquired today, you and I and everyone who has helped to make this program a success, become an Arahat Nahanse, an Arahat Mihene Nahanse in this very life itself, and in the era of the Gautama, Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now the Mahasangha will transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginin midatnva, dvesha ginin midatnva, moha ginin midatnva, Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita tharavatnva. Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita tharavatnva. Mamada siyalu loka, siyalu satnvayo. Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita tharavatnva. Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita tharavatnva. Nibbāna parama sukhayin, sukhita tharavatnva. Raga gini niveva, dvesha gini niveva, moha gini niveva, nivan sapalabheva, nivan sapalabheva. Nivan sapalabheva. Tunuruangi Swisi Ananta Mahaguna Belen Sialu Loga Silo Satdeo Nibbāna Paramasukhin Sukhitaravitva. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.